Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm running down my top 10 solo board games of 2024. This video has been sponsored by Right Stuff Games, the team that brought you Fliptown. They have two new flip and write titles currently seeking funding on Kickstarter, Voyage, and a new Fliptown expansion called New Frontier. The campaign ends on Wednesday, August 20th. That's in less than a week, so if you're interested, make sure to check out their Kickstarter page. A link is in the description below. Fliptown and Voyage are flip and write games for 1 to 4 players that use dry erase boards and a standard deck of cards to drive a sandbox style of gameplay. If you'd like to see exactly how they play, be sure to watch my playthroughs of Voyage and Fliptown, both the base game and the expansion. Links to everything are in the description below. Now, before I get into the list, I want to quickly give an honorable mention to the Book of Adventures expansion for Robinson Crusoe. I don't include expansions on my Game of the Year lists, but if I did, the Book of Adventures would be number 1. It was the best thing to come out in 2024 and easily the best expansion ever made. I filmed a deep dive video where I look at the Book of Adventures and the Collector's Edition in full, so go check that out if you want more information. I've also made 2 full solo playthroughs using scenarios from the Book of Adventures, Reality Island and Experiment on Dinosaur Island. And there will be many more to come. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get going with my number 10, Invincible, the hero building game. This cooperative bag building and tableau building game takes place in the Invincible comic book universe, which is about young superheroes. You can play a one-shot scenario or play the scenarios in order to form an epic campaign. The key gameplay loop involves a bag building press your luck system where you draw different colored action cubes out of a bag 3 at a time, hoping not to bust by drawing too many black cubes. The various colored cubes let you activate actions on your character board and cards, which you'll be purchasing and adding to your tableau. To win, you need to accomplish a certain mission or goal based on the scenario, while also protecting citizens from a constant onslaught of villains. It feels a little bit like Marvel United in that way. When you play solo, you play with 2 characters, but there's no turn order. Everyone's playing simultaneously, so one character could take a bunch of actions in a row, then the other character can take actions. You can do it however you want, which gives the game a very unique flow that I really enjoy. I also enjoy personalizing the characters by adding cubes to their bag and creating powerful combos with the cards. It feels accessible and family-friendly, but also meaty. I'm shocked this game has gotten so little attention. Check out my playthrough to make sure you're not missing out on a great cooperative and solo experience. That's Invincible, the hero building game, my number 10. Number 9 is The Last Lighthouse. The Last Lighthouse is another solo-only 18-card button-shy microgame that has really charmed me. This is the 6th entry in their Simply Solo series by designer Scott Almes, which includes A Nice Cuppa, Hyperstar Run, and Royal Limited. I've made full playthroughs of all of these games, so be sure to go check those out. I think The Last Lighthouse is my favorite of the series. First off, the theme, artwork, and just the overall vibe really captures my imagination. I can feel the isolation and the horror of these nightmares creeping in from the ocean horizon. Are they real supernatural monsters, or are you just succumbing to madness? I just love that stuff. The gameplay is equally interesting. Each card doubles as either a nightmare trying to attack your lighthouse or a trap that can destroy nightmares. And when you destroy a nightmare, it comes into your hand as a trap. That's really the only way you get traps. As with all of the games in the Simply Solo line, the rules are easy to learn, but the puzzle gives you a lot to ponder. Clever actions are not obvious, and they feel super satisfying when you pull them off. That's why it's my number 9, The Last Lighthouse. Number 8 is Black Forest. Black Forest is a spin-off, sequel, new take, whatever you want to call it, on Uwe Rosenberg's earlier design, Glass Road. I adore Glass Road. It's a top 100 game of all time for me, but I think I prefer Black Forest for solo play. They both share similar resource wheels, which keep track of the goods you gather, but also automatically produce advanced goods like glass when you have the right combination of resources. You can check out my full playthrough to see the wheels in action. They add an interesting twist because, you may not want to spend your resources on glass, but you'd have no choice. It happens automatically. So you may delay getting certain goods until you can spend others. And that sort of thing really makes you plan your actions very carefully. The main difference with Glass Road is Black Forest is a worker placement game. In the solo game, you're actually placing out your workers sort of in a line, moving through the forest from village to village, taking one of the available actions there. Most of the actions involved tending your land or constructing buildings, ponds and fields, and expanding your domain. It has this very sandboxy feel because there's just so many buildings that you can choose from, kind of reminiscent of something like Caverna. I don't know, it really feels like the hobby has already moved past this one and just no one's talking about it, which is surprising. I think this deserves more attention. That's Black Forest, my number 8. Number 7 is Harmonies. This is a very popular and beautiful abstract game with drafting and pattern building. It's like part Azul, part Cascadia, part tiny towns with gorgeous artwork and wonderfully clunky wooden tokens. Each round, you simply draft a pile of 3 terrain tokens and then place them out on your personal board to complete shapes that are on your animal cards, and that helps you earn points. But you'll also earn points at the end of the game for forming certain terrain patterns, like having tall mountain ranges or long, winding rivers. Harmonies is a cozy game that can be as thinky as you want it to be. While it isn't quite as newbie-friendly as something like Cascadia, I personally prefer Harmonies for solo play. It sets up fast, it has a small footprint, and it plays smoothly and quickly. Because you're forced to throw away the token piles that you don't select each round, it makes the drafting feel tense and meaningful, and the tile building really nails that claustrophobic feel that you want, just like Tiny Towns. Harmonies is a wonderful game, that's why it's my number 7. Number 6 is Endeavor Deep Sea. This game has been winning all sorts of awards, including the prestigious Kinderspiel, so I just had to check it out. I thought it might be similar to the original Endeavor, which is a game that I really enjoy. And it is sort of similar, but not really. First of all, it's extremely streamlined. You can either play competitively or cooperatively, and obviously when you're playing solo, you're going to be playing the cooperative mode. And in that mode, you're trying to achieve a certain number of goals based on your difficulty level, anywhere from 4 to 7 goals. Each of the 7 rounds, you add a new crew member to your team. These are like workers that can do a different combination of the 5 different main actions. You place a token on them to activate them and take an action. And that's the tricky part, because if a crew member has a token on them already, you can't activate them again until you remove that token. You have these 4 tracks on your player board, which determine how many new tokens you get each round, and also how many tokens you can remove from your crew members each round. So as you get a larger and larger crew, you need to make sure that you're moving up on those tracks so you're getting enough tokens and removing enough in order to activate them. The different actions in the game involve moving your submarine around, scanning the ocean to find new, deeper zones, and conducting research, writing reports, and initiating conservation projects. Your goals will depend on which of the 10 different scenarios you're playing, so there's just tons of replayability. I'll have a playthrough on this one on the channel real soon, so make sure you look out for that. But for right now, that's my number 6, Endeavor Deep Sea. Number 5 is Sankore, the Pride of Mansa Musa. Sankore is a surprisingly heavyweight and lengthy Eurogame about the University of Sankore built in 14th century Timbuktu. Players take the role of scholars tasked with spreading knowledge in 4 main disciplines: theology, law, math, and astronomy. You'll be enrolling students, teaching classes, adding to your curriculum, and filling the Great Library with books. I love this academic theme, and the history of Sankore is fascinating. I highly recommend doing some research. As far as gameplay is concerned, you'll be taking actions by using student meeples and placing them onto tokens that represent a class of one of the 4 disciplines. By teaching that class, you get a special bonus that's shown on the tile, but you also get to add one of your player pieces to the board. And each discipline kind of works in a different way and gives you a different reward. As your knowledge grows in that discipline, let's say astronomy, you can place your pieces on better and better spots. Everything in this game is just so interconnected. It really feels like a Lacerda game to me, and not just because of the gorgeous Ian O'Toole artwork. It really has Lacerda's design philosophy, where every action interacts with every other action. And I'm happy to report that the solo opponent in Sankore is pretty easy to manage given the complexity of this game. There's 4 different difficulty levels you can play against. I think it just works great. My only criticism of the game is just how long and fiddly the setup is. But despite that, I still love it. That's why it's my number 5, Sankore, the Pride of Mansa Musa. Number 4 is Slay the Spire, the board game. This is a faithful recreation of the popular roguelike deck-building, dungeon-crawling video game, except it adds a cooperative mode for up to 4 players. As a solo game, I still think the tactile joy of physically handling the cards elevates the experience, although many will say, why don't you just play the video game? Ignoring the digital version, Slay the Spire is just a great deck-building game. You'll use your deck to fight off a room of monsters. Then you'll gain rewards and new cards to add to your deck, move on to the next room, and repeat, getting stronger and stronger until facing a boss at the end of the act. You can decide to just play one act, or you can play multiple acts altogether, each increasing in difficulty. You get to play as one of 4 different characters, each with unique special abilities, and just like the video game, this is a roguelike, so if your HP goes to 0, you lose. You have to start all over. The board game really captures the strategic card play perfectly. I love how you know ahead of time how the monsters are going to behave, so you have your entire turn to react to that. And their behavior changes from round to round. So, maybe they're coming in for a brutal attack. So this round you want to load up on your defense. Then the next round you can go on the offensive while they're charging up or something. The problem is, will your deck cooperate? And will you get to draw the cards that you need? That's really the fun and the excitement of this kind of system. Another awesome feature is that each card is in a sleeve that comes with the game, because each card can be upgraded by flipping it over in the sleeve. I'm a broken record here, but please go watch my solo playthrough to see it in action. That's my number 4, Slay the Spire. My number 3 is Primal: The Awakening. First, a quick note. I bought Primal with my own money, loved it, and made a playthrough video all on my own. But then Reggie Games saw that video and offered to pay me to make 3 more videos where I play their monthly challenge scenarios. That past financial relationship has nothing to do with Primal being number 3 on this list, but I want to be fully transparent. Now, Primal: The Awakening is probably my favorite cooperative boss battler. You can fight many different monsters, either in a one-off scenario or through an epic campaign. Each hunter has a unique set of action cards and weapons. The card play is visceral and intense. Primal might be best known for insanely large monster minis. Minis doesn't even seem like the right word there. Monster figures, maybe? But here's the thing. You could get rid of those minis and just have cardboard standees, and this would still be my number 3. Because the card play is just that smart and electric. In fact, I hope one day they put out a cheaper, Essentials box or something, with less production values, less extra stuff, so more people can have a chance to try this system. It uses the old, tried and true mechanism of spending cards to play cards. That always works to create really tough decisions. The twist is that in Primal, cards often give bonus effects if certain other types of cards are played either before or after. so that you create these kind of chained actions, which are really thematic and even cinematic. I also love that the monsters don't take their own turn, but rather react to your actions. Like, if you attack them on certain parts of their body, or if you play a certain type of card, like a defensive card. That really makes the battles feel more dynamic and thrilling, and also strategic because you know what they're going to react to ahead of time. It just gives you so much more to think about. Primal almost has too much content to explore. There are just so many unique monsters and characters and weapons and armor and items. There's an entire campaign. There are these monthly free challenge scenarios. And that's just the base game. There's even expansions that add even more. This is truly a lifestyle game. And now I've played a lot of Primal so far, and I've just barely scratched the surface. It's an incredible achievement of a board game, and it's my number 3. Number 2 is Inventions: Evolution of Ideas. This is a heavy Euro game that explores human history by focusing on the development and propagation of technology through the ages. I've made a full solo playthrough of Inventions, and I've made a first impressions video where I discuss all aspects of the game in detail. In that video, I call Inventions my favorite Vital Lacerda game for solo play. Most Lacerda games are best multiplayer, but I think solo is my favorite way to play Inventions. The reason for that is entirely because of the game's central mechanism, which is an action chaining system where you get these chaining tokens and then you can use them to take multiple actions in a row. By the end of the game, you might be taking 6 or 7 actions on a single turn, which really just feels so rewarding. The other main mechanism is a worker placement system where you block yourself out of actions based on the actions that you take. I really like this because it means you can plan all of your actions for the era ahead of time without having to worry about your opponent blocking you out of spaces. You get to make long-term plans and then pivot tactically based on changes to the board state, which is really the best of both worlds. The solo mode is also a great mix of feeling like you're playing against an actual opponent who is taking actions and getting in your way, but with streamlined rules to make it easier to manage. It still takes a little while to get the hang of, but it's so much easier than managing like the solo mode in Kanban EV or even Weather Machine, for example. I really love Inventions, and I was convinced that it was going to be my top game of 2024, but another game barely edged it out. That's right, my number 1 solo board game of 2024 is Civolution. Civolution is another heavy Euro game, this time from the great Stefan Feld, that uses a fantastic dice selection system to trigger actions. The actual theme is a bit bonkers, something about being a student deity taking a final exam in civilization design, or something like that, who knows. I just think of this as a typical civilization building game, and it all works just fine. You'll be able to take all the actions you'd expect in a civilization game. Exploration, migration, procreation, hunting, production of resources, and then transportation of those resources into your supply, and really so much more. And all of these actions are activated by spending specific dice values. So for example, exploration requires you to spend a 1 and a 4. There are plenty of ways to mitigate the dice you roll, and there are tons of cards that you can add to your tableau which provide your civilization with special abilities. Feld has really done the impossible and taken a game with 18 different resources and 6 different card types and 22 different possible actions, most of which can be upgraded twice, and he's somehow created a system that feels elegant and easy to internalize. This is one of the most teachable heavy games I've played. The organization of the player board is part of the magic. The clever dice action selection system is another big factor. It's funny because Civolution appears sandboxy, and it is because you have so many actions at your fingertip, but the dice really limit your choices, keeping your turn from feeling overwhelming. This is the sort of thing that Feld does best, and Civolution is Feld at his best. He gives you tons of options, but then he limits those options each round, forcing you to make hard decisions that will impact your future actions. It's just genius level design. And all of that extends to the solo mode. The solo opponent is Vicky, and they are very streamlined for a game of this complexity. They don't require a board or collect resources or money, so most of the fiddliness has been removed. Vicky simply has an action deck. You flip over a card which shows multiple actions, and then you roll a die to pick between them. That means there's a good amount of variety to Vicky's behavior, and there's many ways of dialing in their difficulty level to provide you with a good challenge. Civolution might be my favorite solo Feld game. It's hard to deny the new solo mode for Castles of Burgundy, but Civolution has everything that makes Feld games so special. It's an absolute joy to play despite being long and complex. The central dice mechanism is so compelling it keeps me coming back and wanting to play again. In a strong year for solo games, Civolution is my favorite. And there you have it, my top 10 solo board games for 2024. This video was delayed as I tried to play as many games from the year as possible, but I just couldn't get to them all. Which games did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. And please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what I do. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.